been a mad minute since we had David and Nicolas on the show to give us an update about how things are progressing at Ultra. Boop. Since last time, we launched our Uniq Marketplace, are prepping Wave 3 and the launch of Ultra Games. And we're starting to onboard developers into our ecosystem. Even with all the market madness, it's an exciting time at Ultra. I know that you guys are keen to hear from the execs, but I also wanted to give you an opportunity to engage with them directly. Add a comment below and ask your questions which you'd like to get answers to. We'll try to cover as many of them as we reasonably can. So, let's get to it. First off, let's start with the Uniq Marketplace, its deployment and use by users. I wanted to hear your thoughts on how it's been going and where you think it's going to go next.
It went pretty well for the market we are in. I know we reached top 17, I believe, from all in terms of trading volume, which is pretty good. So that's really based on the team's efforts and then the collection that were interesting for our audience. I think the big next step here is to keep improving the marketplace. As you guys could see, we had a first version and now we are expanding that with more and more options to make it more of a fully functional product. Once it's out, then we are able to do some more launch of cool collection, which are much more tied to games. As originally we had to try, it's always, it's very new. Uniq Marketplace is a new thing, of course, especially on Ultra that has primary and secondary markets at the same time with fiat and crypto. So it's another story than quite some other marketplaces. So we have to manage both the relation with the creators, the community, expectation, pricing, finding what's the right balance. So this obviously always takes a bit of time, but it's really great because now we are starting to see what's making the most sense for everyone. And we are starting as well to put all the tools in place to be able to accept more and more creators onto the platform and more users as well. So we just released some new updates to the whole client, which makes it much faster, which allows us as well to have an increase in terms of user base.
There was some discussion before we hit the record button about how some of the projects that we put up on the marketplace sold out really within a matter of seconds, and some of the stuff that we've been putting out didn't sell out. And there was, I think, maybe a disconnect between what we believed the community would want, the pricing that was involved, and some of the details that were intrinsic in building out an NFT project like that. Maybe you guys want to comment on some of the stuff that we've experienced the last maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah, sure. So I think we're also learning sort of the process of launching new products, and we also have experienced maybe a lack of information prior to the launch of certain of the latest collections. So I think we will sort of have a new workflow for launching them that will give us enough time to have interviews of the creators, talking about what they're building, what the utility will be, how they're gonna work, who are the people involved in making them, sort of building a wealth of information prior to launching them. And so I think this is something that happened for many of the initial collection, but didn't happen for the more recent ones. And so this is something that we're taking note of. We're taking note of a lot of feedback of the community, price points, utility, all of these, lack of information, all of these things are helping us improve the platform in the future launches. So there's definitely going to be an improvement on that side. And then on the other side, when it comes to the NFT marketplace itself, we've been building and been working a lot on many improvements. Better ways to categorize content, better ways to filter content, better ways to find what you're looking for. So this is something that the dev teams and the PO teams have been working on since the launch of the NFT marketplace. So we get a lot of feedback. We're taking them, we're classifying them. Typically, biggest bang for buck. How much time do we spend, doing the functionality and how much value it brings? We, have all of them in a backlog, and then we prioritize them depending on different availability of the teams, because some of these functionality are more heavily blockchain developer related, some of them are more front end related, and some of them are more database data related. And so depending on what we already have scheduled, we can organize the deployment of these functionalities according to a decision that's done through internal consensus mechanism.
Right. I know that like when we launched the marketplace in the end of August, there were definitely some scaling issues, and we popped those scaling issues to the very top of the queue for our developers to deal with. And they did a really good job in making sure that people's access to the marketplace and other parts of Ultra were super slick, super fast. And it's been really fun to watch that development happen so quickly.
Yeah, the functionalities are getting better and better in terms of pure functionality, how we deal with the data, how we deal with the transaction stream, how we deal with the metadata, the payment flow, credit cards, cryptocurrencies. All of this is being improved. In the upcoming release, you will start seeing that when you purchase an NFT or when you set an NFT for sale or something like this, today you have a little dropper that basically makes you wait for the transaction to reach finality. This is something that we did initially out of precaution, but it's actually unnecessary. We saw the data, we know how things work. And so very soon, when you will do such type of transaction, like you're receiving an NFT, buying an NFT, or selling an NFT for sale, it's going to happen instantly. So if you look at your inventory, you will be able to, do actions on it without having to wait the 30 seconds that you're facing today. So these are all, improvements which were always planned, but now we're solidifying sort of like the core technology. We're also currently substantially improving the data structure of the NFT standard. So everything that's related to the metadata will be much easier to use very soon. The attached data will be much more accessible than what it is today. It's going to be faster for developers, going to be easier for creators, and also we're adding a lot of flexibility around this data structure. And so all of these are part of feedback that we received or part of a scheduled rollout of the functionalities.
Well, that's the next thing that I wanted to talk about, because we've been very focused on building out our developer tooling over the last, I guess, like 6 months or so. And the NFT standard and its updates are definitely tied to that. What else are we working on within Ultra that is developer tooling?
So a big piece of it is the Chrome extension. So we have two type of accounts on Ultra. Some accounts that are that benefit from what we call the easy blockchain account system, which allow people to recover their keys super easily and so on. And then we have another type of account which we call non-EBA accounts, which is the classical user account that you're used to in the blockchain space, where really you have the secret key and then you're fully responsible for it. And if you lose it, you lose it forever. So we have both because in some cases you might prefer one or another. In Ultra, when you create your account, you automatically receive an EBA account, but as a developer or as a company, you might need some unique security model and so on, and so then you might go for the non-EBA. So the Chrome extension now supports both EBA and non-EBA accounts. There's been a security audit ongoing, we're tackling different subjects: the blockchain, the NFT standard, but also the Chrome extension. Like we've done a big part that just been completed with tremendous positive result. We've got a lot of praises for the quality of code and the level of security that was embedded. But we're still working on this. And so in the meantime, we already have developers starting to use it. And the feedback is also very good. So because it's very easy to implement, and of course it's very easy then to use as a user. And so we're seeing the guys, for example, at Agora, are building on it. There's a game that's also using it, which is more of a web game, not a client game. There is
Solarium.
yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of people that are using it. And so, like right now, we're basically providing them these dev kits, but our goal, of course, is to open it to the larger public to say, well, everything's right there and just download it. We've done it already for part of it. Like you can run, for example, today, a local instance of the Ultra blockchain. You got everything you need to develop smart contracts, to publish them inside your local instance of the blockchain, to test and so on. But we're currently completing the latest steps to allow you to do that directly on the public testnet. And then there will be another audit, and then the final version will be then opening these tools for the mainnet. This time, this said, in the meantime, you can use the command line type of tools that we already distributed. So we're just doing this by precautions. There's a lot of part of our infrastructure which work behind a VPN for security reasons again. We're unlocking them one by one after we got a consensus of the team, everything's ready, security is high. Okay, let's unlock it, and then we do this step by step.
Right, but it's not just consensus within our team. Like we're working with those external developers, and their feedback is just as valuable as the wider community feedback. And we go to them, we show them what we built, and we iterate based on their needs also.
Yeah, absolutely. And their feedback is extremely valuable. We're also asking them to contribute on our documentation, which has been growing substantially past month. In different areas, improvement. Oh, you forgot this, or hey, I didn't understand that part, and then we sort of like improve the text, the way we write. There's going to be another phase a little later where we will start providing sample code for various use cases, which we believe are maybe the most useful initially, and then we're going to grow with more and more educational content so that people really can start from scratch, not knowing anything, and then at the end of the day, become a smart contract developer. That's really our goal, is to democratize blockchain development, and I think Ultra is in a unique position for this, for multiple reasons. First, because it's easier, there's less resources, gas, and so on to manage, so there's less concept to explain. But also because our smart contract language is C++, and therefore all the game developers we're working with typically already have C++ experience. So doing the transition, from making a C++ based game to a smart contract is, extremely easy. And so we're really excited to have these building tools, opening more and more to our developer community.
I think what's being worked on as well and close to completion is around SDK that is used for games. So the fact that a game developer would be able to use blockchain functionalities directly from within the SDK, including minting the NFT, transferring NFTs, any sort of interaction with the blockchain feasible as well. So that's really a big plus for any sort of game developers or even app developers who want to create using Ultra. just use the SDK and you can get access to the rest of the possibilities, including also single sign-on. So once you use a single sign-on, it's very simple because when you launch from Ultra, we know who you are. So we can say, hey, hi, David, welcome to the game. And your history that is tied to your account as well. So you can already have this continuous interaction, continuous growth of your digital identity throughout the ecosystem. The fact that the SDK allows to fetch those information and then add them to your profile in a sense. So that's going to be very exciting because it's so simple to use for the game devs, and hopefully that can help a lot of people to be on board.
Yeah, it's like, especially when you think about game developers that have a game, there's very, very often a need for the game to react on certain actions that occurs in the game and then reward the player or perform certain blockchain transaction on a smart contract. So as soon as a game has this requirement, like, okay, you reach level 5, you earn an NFT, for example. Super simple use case. But what that means is that the developer actually have to have a backend who is aware of these events and eventually during certain conditions will sign a blockchain transaction that will create this NFT and send it to your account. Now that means that to do that, to sign this transaction, they need to hold the key. And if they hold the key, that means that you need to have a substantial security around that. And then you need, to know a lot of concept. How do you do this properly? Ideally hardware wallets, but how do you do hardware wallets for high frequency and this transactions? So there's a lot of burden that goes on instantly on the back of the developer. And so what the SDK does, what Nicolas just referred to, is that it comes out of the box. It's right there for you. All you need to say is that at one point with a classical API, you can just say, hey, create me an NFT number 145 and send it to player 249. It will just happen. And they don't need to know how the keys were secured. Like, we're taking care of, the highest, security measure and like the good practices that we applied for us. We apply it on the SDK. And so you can still do it yourself, of course, but there's this thing that's there that doesn't require you to even know what blockchain is. And so this will further democratize access to blockchain technology for game developers.
Yeah, I would say the last part, which is very exciting, is for the community to try, that we're gonna have also try out games. So a game you can just try, which is basically a small, I would say, plain flying game.
You mean the sample project?
Game. Yeah, exactly. So people can just try and see, okay, cool, I pop up my Unity, I can make my blockchain transaction, see how it works, and get familiarized with the concept directly within the game. And that's something about ready as well, I believe.
This will grow over time, but it uses, because our SDK goes beyond just blockchain, it also does, stuff that you might need in your game, lobby making, matchmaking, messaging, friends list, quests. There's a lot of functionality there. And so this game, sample game that you can download with the, you will get the whole source code and you can see how everything works. Both on the blockchain stuff that Nicolas was referring to, but also some of the non-blockchain stuff. How do you authenticate a user? How do you, get his friends list, achievements? These kind of things are all part of this. And you can just, get it for free, see how it works, and then modify it, or see how it works and then apply this concept in your own game. So it's a very cool and informational sample project.
It's funny because when we talk generally about, bringing blockchain to the mainstream, it's very user focused. But what you guys have been talking about the last, few minutes is how bringing blockchain to the mainstream is really generally developer focused. It's about providing like developers the easiest way to do something instead of the hardest way to do something. Because if we go back to generating a transaction on the blockchain, you were talking about generating it using keys that you hold, and then the complexity that's involved in building a backend which is secure, using a hardware like an HSM so that that's the one that's holding the keys, so that those are the most secure, and then signing those transactions and blah 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 blah. And what you actually have there is this like huge level of complexity, which frankly like a financial institution should be dealing with, and not your indie developer who really doesn't want to deal with any of that stuff. And Ultra is saying, hey, listen, like that's not the way that we build stuff. That's not our concept, not our vision for blockchain for the mainstream. We're going to do all the hard stuff for you. You still get all the benefits of blockchain without any of the hard stuff of blockchain.
Absolutely. And developer adoption is a big part of the success of a blockchain. And so that's why we think that the efforts we're putting into our tech will pay out for sure.
It's also streamlining the way it's done, which means if you provide a tool to make it in a way that is convenient, the easiest way to do it, on a user's perspective, they also have the same process. So they don't have to have different way to log in, different way to authenticate, different way to do this or that. They can do the same framework, which means for the users, it's also the same experience across all applications and services, which is very important. You don't want to relearn how to do transaction every time you pop up a new game or a new app.
So as a continuation of that discussion, let's talk about Ultra Games, because there's a lot of complexity that we're taking on ourselves at Ultra to be able to provide that stuff to developers and to our users. How's it going? How's the development of Ultra Games going?
I think for Ultra Games, the first step was to be able to get it tested by the community, which we did almost a year back. Right now, the next stage is really to get it mass marketly available, in a sense that we want it to be able to scale. So that's why we have the Wave 3 upcoming in a few weeks. And that Wave 3 will allow us basically to see, okay, sure, we have many more users, issues we can arising from that. And that's basically where the crux is going to be. Okay, if there's a bit more scaling, then it would be pushed a bit further. But yeah, it won't be very far. But the idea is really to be able to make it in a way that it can be launched with much more marketing, much more content available. And the very next step that we are looking into, even including into the launch, is the tokenization. So this is something still being discussed. But the idea is to be, every time you have your games, you can actually, having as NFT, resellable, DRM. The DRM is extremely complex. You can imagine that protecting files from hacking is just something people have been doing with computers since computers exist, so you don't get hacked, right? That's the same for the files as well, to get hacked and copied to somebody else. So the DRM is a very complex part. It's already working now, but we want to include it as well as part of the NFTs, as you guys can imagine. So that's really where we are going. In terms of content, I think we have really good content, not on the store. Not everything is amazing today on the store. We already have some good content, but we want to improve and add more and more high quality content. But obviously it doesn't make any sense for us to drop it in closed beta, right? It has to be launched when you launch the actual platform. That's why we don't, I think, speak a lot about very critically acclaimed content, because it has to be launched with the marketing and the launch of the platform, of course.
We've got a bunch of other stuff which is coming down the pipeline, and I wanted to get your take on the status of the tournament platform that we've been kind of hinting about the last 6 months, some of the exclusive games that our partners are working on, and any other juicy details that you want to drop for us.
Sure. I think tournament platform I saw it, of course. It's really cool. It's made with the same vibe as the rest of the client, so the look is pretty slick. It's already working today to create basically NFTs when you create your own tournament. So you can create your NFTs, add the image, add the descriptions and all that, all the rules. So this is really the first piece as well of the creator tool for NFTs in a sense, because that's the same thing. So that's going to be easy because we can just after reuse it and add it to for the marketplace, for example. And yeah, so I think the state today is that we can already do some tournaments as part of it. We will do it one internally to test it out with the company, to see if everything is working as expected, and then put it out, I think, in closed beta first and then fully live. But today it's already working, so we could already put it today out if we were not a bit safety freak in a sense. We want to make sure there is no issues happening for anybody. So here we tried first, making sure everything's running smoothly, then we can release with some cool ones. We already have some good partners who want to create tournaments on the platform, and that will really come handy, with any sort of game launch, even for the Ultra games. When we launch Ultra games, we also can have, some cool tournaments around some games, which would bring a lot of users because they're excited by trying a new game competitively, earn some prizes, earn some NFTs. And I think that's really one of the key aspects of the tournament platform, is that we can get people to learn about NFTs without learning about blockchain or anything. Just come play the game, and then they will start to understand and use blockchain without noticing it, which is always what we try to do at Ultra. So yep, that was pretty exciting. And I think next in line you also have Agora, the text for gaming, which is in the making. UI is pretty slick as well. We'll see it, I think, pretty soon. But the Chrome extension is one of the prerequisites for us as well. So having it available within Ultra, outside of Ultra, everywhere at the same time. And that's really thanks to the technology we developed that people can create, like Ultra S Live, for example, can create because we created all the tooling, and now you can make your own cool thing on top of it without as much effort as you would need to do, of course.
David, you've been working on a bunch of those exclusive games. You want to give us a quick update?
Most of them are working right now on their websites, and also on trailers. So I hope they will be ready soon. I've seen some part of it, and I've been blown away. Like really, I had goosebumps. So just to give you the level of my excitement. So for sure, I'm really looking forward to that. We're helping them, different areas around, the website and so on. So we're very excited by what's to come. I'm really excited by what's to come.
We'll be opening soon, I guess, also the community channels, Discord and everything, so you guys can start to join, talk with the team, see what's going on. That's going to be pretty exciting. Yeah, so that's for the FPS game. So the sports game, I think, is pretty close as well to release. So that's going to be another fun part as well. And we'll start also to try, as we have those exclusive games which we work with very closely. We can also start to have some interaction between games, between apps, so tournaments, NFT Marketplace, games A, games B, and sort of have NFTs that goes around all the different actors. I think that's going to show much further what blockchain and the Web3 can do. It's going to be cool to see.
All right, guys. I really appreciated your time and your expertise. Thanks for coming on to the show.
Thanks, Remy. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Remy. Thank you, everybody. See you soon.